to go over the Insights Indicator, how it works, how it's calculated, and its different settings. So let's start with looking at how the Insights Indicator is constructed. To do that, we need to talk about volume spread analysis first. So let's go to a drawing here that I've made. Here we have a price bar. We're not currently concerned about its direction. It's just a price bar, and it moves an imaginary number of 10. And we have a volume of only 5. So we can view volume as effort or energy expended to move 10. So we could say that we only required 5 energy to move 10. So that would be considered ease of movement in VSA. If we move 10 with the power of 10, this is the normal or balanced kind of move. And then if we only move 10 and had to expend an energy of 20 to do it, then there's some kind of battle going on inside of this bar, and one side is being absorbed by the other side. So all three of these situations are actually quite interesting on their own. And we can draw even more conclusions by looking at who's winning, if these are bullish or bearish bars. And you can look at the wicks, and you can get a lot of information about what's going on in the market from that. Now, if we start to use volume delta for this instead, we get even more information. We get the information of who inside of these volume bars were the aggressor, who was using market orders. So let's say that in this case we moved 5, and there was 2 aggressive bulls and 3 aggressive bears. We could say that the bears were more aggressive, and the difference between these two is 1. So the delta is -1. So this number tells us that bears were a little bit more aggressive. It cost 5. It cost the bears 3, the bulls 2, and with that we moved 10. In this situation, we have an equal balance between the aggressiveness of bulls and bears, and we moved 10. And in this situation, we had, in this example, 15 aggressive bull volume and 5 aggressive bear volume. So we have 10 more of the bulls, and we moved 10. So this is a significant amount of energy spent by the bulls to move these 10. And again, if these were also directional bars, then we can make even more conclusions and more combinations of situations there. But let's keep it simple for now. Now let's imagine that we add moving averages on top of the price action and the volume delta. So we would obviously need a lot of bars in order to get trends, but let's keep it simple and say that these are moving averages. So we're moving 10, 10, 10, so we have a flat moving average. And here we have a negative delta, so we're slightly below the 0 line of the indicator because it's an oscillator. And here we have a delta of 0, so we are right in the middle, crossing the 0 line. And here we had a lot more bulls being aggressive, so the indicator moves up like this into positive territory. And now the Insights Indicator comes into play, and we fill in the difference between this line and this line. So imagine if this line was here and this line was here, and then we fill in the difference between these two lines. So now we actually get the difference between the price action and the volume delta expended by the bulls and bears. So we can see that we started off with an aggressiveness of bears. We went into convergence, and then we went into quite a drastic divergence where bulls were expending a lot more energy than the bears. So that's how the Insights Indicator is calculated, and that explains these bulges on the Insight Indicator. So let's go over the different settings. So the first couple of settings are exactly the same as I've been through in a previous video where I talked about volume delta and CVD. So I won't go over this again, but these are to do with the resolution of the indicator. And then this SMA length is actually two different, it's this one and this one together. They have to be the same length, so you set both of them with one setting here. And it's also good to synchronize the setting with the CVD line indicator. So you want the CVD line indicator to be set to the same as the Insights Indicator, because you want them to reflect the market in the same way, so that you can read the divergences of the CVD and also the absorption going on with the Insights Indicator. Then you optionally can make it volume weighted. By default, this is turned on. I personally like it to be on because it shows me more prominent events. And if I turn it off, you can see that all of these gets quite large. And I think it makes it harder to spot convergences. But if you're trading intraday and in liquid markets, it might be a good idea to turn it off or play with this setting. The volume normalization length, I see that I've misspelled this feature, I need to fix that. When we calculate the volume weight, we and also the spike detector, we look at how big is the average volume bar on this chart, and then we look for deviations, standard deviations from that, and if we find that it crosses the threshold of 2 standard deviations, we print one of these dots. So this is a good way to spot spikes that goes on, and if you lower this amount you will get less spikes, you will get more spikes, and if you increase the threshold you will get more prominent events, so some of these dots will go away. By default this is set to 2, and I personally like to keep it there and just use my own judgment. When I see several dots in a row like this, I just treat that as a single event. If you're trading intraday, you may want to play with this setting if you're using the spikes for something. The next feature is called passive absorption. If you turn it on, it will detect long divergences. So I've talked about this in a previous video where I talk about chronic divergence or inversion charts. And if you look at this uptrend that goes on here, it's constantly under challenge by bears, and the bears are not being able to reverse this trend. So that tells us that the market order bears are weak and the limit order bulls are strong. And more often than not, limit order participants that are strong are smart money. So you should be able to trust the price action more when you see passive absorption. That is something that you can play around with. By default, it's turned off. Then you can add another moving average on top of the entire bulge calculation. In order to turn that on, you have to go to the Style tab and turn on the signal line, and you will get a moving average of this. I don't personally use it very much. I played with it in the beginning but decided not to use it, but I kept it in. Feel free to come up with any uses for it. These are all the settings that you need to know. Besides that, you have all the different colors and everything you can play with here. It's pretty self-explanatory. I hope this video helps. Thank you.